So before we go in, Jane, we all know of the big five when we go to South Africa on a safari, but in Australia we also have our own big five. So I'm going to test your knowledge, not coming from Australia to start with, hailing from England, but what are our big five?
A platypus,
yes,
a koala, a wombat, a crocodile, and a kangaroo.
Excellent. Sounded like she was doing a spelling bee, but that's okay.
They're behind me, aren't they?
Anyway, let's go on inside.
So today we're joined by Jess at Wildlife Sydney Zoo, and she's going to be talking to us about koalas. Hi, how are we? Good, good, very good.
Exactly. So a little bit about koalas. Probably the main thing that most people want to ask about is why do they sleep so often? Why do they sleep so long? So realistically, they sleep for an average of around 18 to 20 hours a day. So out of a 24-hour period, the majority of the time they're sleeping. The main reason for that is actually because of their diet. So you can see we're surrounded by lots of lovely green leaves. This is actually their food, their main source of food, which is eucalyptus leaves. The thing about eucalyptus though is it's actually quite low in nutrients. It's actually a very toxic plant, but it's the only thing that koalas realistically eat. So they've kind of had to adapt to that by conserving as much energy as possible. And that basically means sleeping all day long. But it also makes for some very cute and cuddly poses up in the trees as well, as you can see here, some perfect examples.
So this Joey is about how old?
So this is little Arnold, and he's probably roughly 10 months old now. So he emerged from the pouch roughly at 9 months old. So they are marsupial animals, which means just like our kangaroos, all of their mums have a pouch that the babies, once they're born, they'll hop into. They'll keep on growing all their limbs and growing their fur inside the safety of the pouch. And then roughly 9 months old, they pop on out, and they're basically like a little mini fluffy koala.
And you have a lot of Joeys here at the moment?
We do. So it is currently koala breeding season. We've had roughly about 8 successful Joeys born this season, which is actually a record here at the zoo. Quite a number of girls and only 1 boy, unfortunately. We haven't got a great track record with boys, but little Arnold is probably our star of the show at the moment. But yeah, lots of very successful mums here.
And are you part of a breeding program?
We are. So we're a part of a wider zoo breeding program. So we have really good relationships with a lot of the zoos here in Sydney. We get quite a few little loan systems going on. So if we need another male koala, for example, so some fresh genetics, they're happy to lend us some good genetics in their koalas in that sense. And the same with us, if we want to send our koalas their way because they're continuing with their breeding, we will do the same thing. So yeah, at the moment we don't really have that many males just because we do actually have to house them separately. They're quite territorial in that sense, and they will fight with each other if we house them together, whereas all of our females here, even though in the wild they wouldn't naturally sit together in the trees like this, they are more than happy to just kind of relax around each other and sleep, as you can see.
So this is Arnold.
Yes.
Who named him Arnold?
So we actually got together as a team, and we decided the name Arnold because when he was a little baby, fresh out of the pouch, he actually had a very funny shaped head. And I don't know if you've ever seen the show Hey Arnold from the 90s. Little football shaped head. So basically we decided that that would be a really cute little homage to him. But we also keep with the theme. So the parents, whatever their name starts with, we tend to go with the first letter of that name. So his dad's name was Alfie, starting with an A, so it had to be an A name. And then we decided on Arnold.
So you mentioned that you've actually had competitions before to name the koalas.
Yeah, we've had a couple with our guests. So we'll set up polls and things on our social media sites, put out a few names that the keepers have kind of pulled together, and we'll basically get them to pick their favourite. And we've had a couple, including Sapphire, who's around here somewhere. She was a fan favourite for sure. So yeah.
And do you have a favourite?
Oh, honestly, they're all my favorite. They all have their own individual personalities, so I love them all for very different reasons. Some of them are quite sassy and some of them are quite sleepy, and yeah, I love them all basically.
No favourite child.
No favourite child. No.
So koalas are often referred to as koala bears. But they're not actually bears.
No, technically not. So I did mention before that they are marsupial animals. So bears are technically what we call placental. So they're actually more closely related to us than they are to koalas, just because of the way that they reproduce. But I mean, they do have quite a lot of very cute bear-like qualities. So I do understand where that name comes from.
And I'm looking at these leaves and they're kind of all nibbled away.
Yes.
Are they picky eaters?
They can be quite fussy, yes. So as I mentioned before, they mainly, or their big part of their diet is eucalyptus. So there's over 800 different species of eucalyptus in Australia. Roughly about 50 of those species koalas will choose to eat from. So they have really big noses on their faces. I'm not sure if you can see them here, but they use that big nose to be able to sense out which of the leaves have the least amount of toxins, the highest water content, and those are usually the species that they tend to go for. And on top of that as well, they usually only like to eat the very young, juicy leaves. So when we come in the mornings, it may still look like we have a lush green forest here full of eucalyptus, but realistically they've eaten all that they want to eat off of those leaves, and we have to come in and give them lots of new fresh stuff, basically.
And do you grow the leaves on site, or do you have to have that shipped in?
So we don't really have the facilities here to grow fully mature eucalyptus on site, as much as I would love that. That would be really cool. But we do have several deliveries a week coming in with lots of fresh leaves with a reputable plantation that we have worked with for a really long time. So, and they know their stuff about eucalyptus. They know way more than I do. I like to pride myself in knowing things about koalas, but in terms of the leaves, I'm a bit of a novice, unfortunately, but I'm slowly learning, so yeah.
And it's true that you can't hold koalas here in Sydney?
In Sydney, yeah. Unfortunately, each state and territory has their own separate rules and regulations around what you can and can't do with koalas in terms of entertainment purposes. So here at Wildlife, we currently can't hold koalas just because of the laws of New South Wales, but there are different states and territories that will allow you to hold them.
And are there any other large-scale kind of conservation programs happening around the country to help preserve the very precious koala?
There are quite a few, particularly here at Wildlife. We have our own conservation funds called the Wildlife Conservation Fund, and we help support a project that we hold close to our heart. So there's an organisation called Science for Wildlife. They've actually been a really crucial part. A few years ago, we had those really horrible bushfires. Quite a number of those animals were rescued from the Blue Mountains area because there's actually quite a large population of them in that area where nobody assumed koalas would live. Just because of the food sources in that area weren't particularly, I suppose, koala friendly, but they're probably one of the most genetically diverse populations that we have here in New South Wales. So they've done a lot to help preserve those koalas, save them from the bushfires, and we send a lot of our donations their way to make sure that they can continue doing that, basically.
And how many species of koala are there? Just the one?
There is technically just the one, but it does depend on where you are in Australia. It actually, once upon a time, they did think that there were a few separate subspecies. So if you go up to Queensland and you see a Queensland koala, they're actually quite small. They're even slightly smaller than these guys here, and their fur is very, very light grey in colour. And then you go all the way down to Victoria, where it can get quite cold. They have been known to weigh over 10 kilograms. Wow. They're basically big, cuddly monsters. You can kind of understand where the drop bear thing came from in terms of that. But at the same time, technically they've done a lot of DNA testing and they're all the same species. It just happens to be that they have different adaptations to their environments, basically, which is very interesting, clever. Very cool. Yeah.
So how many koalas do you have here?
Oh, you're testing me now because we've had so many joeys at the moment. So roughly we have around 14 to 15 koalas at the moment. That's including our males and our joeys. Eventually we will probably be moving a few koalas on so that they can continue helping with the breeding programs in other zoos. And we also need to make sure little Arnold here, he's not going to be able to be with the females for too much longer. So we are going to have to find him another home as well.
So now we've come to the Tasmanian devil enclosure here at the zoo. So the Tasmanian devil is a curious little animal. Unique to Tasmania in Australia. and also I believe on the verge of extinction.
Yes, unfortunately, and there are a couple of reasons for that. The number one, though, being that these guys actually suffer from a very unique disease that's only found in Tasmanian devils. It's called the devil facial tumour disease. It does cause some really horrible tumours all around their faces, and unfortunately if they start showing signs of the disease within the next year, they will perish.
Oh, wow.
And there is no cure at this point in time, and there is a lot of research and things still going into it, but breeding programs in captivity are really important in terms of making sure that we have an insurance population of nice healthy animals with nice healthy disease-free genetics, basically.
And is that, just out of curiosity, a like an introduced disease from humans, or?
I mean, they're not 100% sure exactly how the disease came about. So it was recognised in 1997, so it has been quite a while since we first found out about it, and we have been working for a cure ever since. But yeah, it just kind of appeared as it does sometimes in nature, and it just hasn't completely gone away, and another big reason for that is because it is a contagious cancer, so they actually spread it through their saliva, and these guys are naturally solitary, so when they do come together, it's usually for breeding purposes, or it is they've found the same carcass and they'll share that food together, but that does also involve a lot of fighting and biting, so they're kind of their own worst enemy in that sense, unfortunately.
And where would we find them in the wild?
In the wild, so they are strictly only found currently in Tasmania. Once upon a time they were found on the mainland as well, but they were wiped out. The main theory behind that being the introduction of dingoes. So they weren't always found in Australia, but when they did come to the mainland, they became the top predator, and Tassie devils unfortunately had to kind of fall under that, but they never made it down to Tasmania. So these guys are now the top dog, I suppose, down there. But they are also technically nocturnal animals. So usually,
I was curious.
Usually out in the wild, you'd probably have to get a special headlight and a torch to go searching for them. They can be pretty elusive, but in saying that, a lot of people tend to hear them more than they see them, because they do have very devil-like calls that you can hear screeching in the night, basically.
So Jess is holding what looks like another box of sweet potatoes, which was just enjoyed by the kangaroos.
Yes.
But I'm guessing that's not sweet potatoes in there, because I can see a lot of hay.
No, there is.
Oh, there is?
There is lots of hay.
Lots of hay?
Here, yeah.
And this is not actually a feed. I think you were explaining to us this is an enrichment.
Enrichment, yeah. So for all of our animals here at the zoo, we do try to make sure that they are kept nice and healthy, stimulated, expressing lots of natural behaviours as they would in the wild. So this box here today, like we've said, doesn't have any sweet potatoes. There's actually no food in here either. They don't naturally eat sweet potatoes. They are carnivores, so they probably wouldn't really appreciate that anyways. But it is full of lots of bedding from another animal. So hopefully the smells from the other animals will get these guys very much intrigued in the box and trying to figure out exactly what's happening. They'll spend a little bit of time sniffing around. Hopefully they will also scent mark, so marking their territory to claim that it's theirs. And we'll see lots of those kinds of behaviours from them once I pop it in, which I will hopefully do now, and then hopefully they'll come over. Hey girls! Millions, hi!
So just tell me, are they dangerous?
I suppose you could consider them somewhat dangerous. They're not exactly a very large animal. They haven't been known to kill anybody before, but they do have one of the strongest jaw bites in the whole animal kingdom. So realistically, these guys only weigh about 5 to 6 kilos, which is not very much at all. But their jaw pressure is stronger than like a 50 or 60 kilo dog. And they can actually open their mouths at about a 180-degree angle. So if you did happen to get in contact with one, it probably wouldn't end very well.
Walk away, right?
Yeah, basically, wouldn't end well for your shins or your toes. They mainly have that very strong jaw because they are what we call scavengers. So they like to pick up all the meat and the fur and things off of already dead animals that they find out in the wild.
So like a hyena
yeah,
in
similar
Africa?
kind of, yeah. So they're kind of like nature's cleaner-uppers. So they're getting rid of all of the gross, yucky things out there, and they find that particularly delicious. But it does also mean that they don't really like to waste their food. So they will also chew up all the bones and things like that. So having that really nice strong jaw helps them to be able to do that kind of
break
thing.
it all down.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, now we're down in the kangaroo habitat with our zookeeper Jess. We didn't ask you before, Jess, how long have you been here?
Here at Wildlife, I've been here for roughly 2.5 years, so it feels like no time has flown by at all because I absolutely love my job. So
Fabulous job, absolutely fabulous. And here you get to work across a number of the animals in the zoo, correct?
Yeah, we have a really great opportunity to be able to work with not just one particular kind of animal, but basically we cover birds, reptiles, mammals, even some cute little inverts and bugs and things like that. So yeah, really great opportunity here to work with those animals.
Fabulous. And today, now, we have our cast of kangaroos. So tell us a little bit about kangaroos.
Absolutely. Well, I can introduce you very quickly to a few of our beautiful girls here. So we have a mob of 5 female kangaroos. Currently, I think we can see all of them, but in front of us, the 3 here, we've got the usual suspects. We've got Dot, we've got Dusk, and we've got Nutmeg. So these 3 are probably the most confident of the lot. Behind me here is beautiful little Kirby. She's probably the most affectionate. And then off in the background, we've got Julie, who's a bit of a mum, bit of a warrior, and she does like to spend time with herself more often than not. But these guys are what we call Kangaroo Island kangaroos. So
wow. Okay.
Technically down in South Australia, you'd find these guys in the wild, but they are a subspecies of Western grey kangaroos. So over on the other side of Australia, Western Australia, that area, here in Sydney, we will find the Eastern grey kangaroos. So east and west, very easy to differentiate. They're actually probably one of the smaller species of kangaroos that we have. So again, our Eastern greys would be slightly taller, slightly less lighter grey in colour as well. These guys are nice chocolatey brown. They've got nice thick fur to be able to help them to stay warm out in the wild. It does get quite cold in Kangaroo Island, but as well as that, we don't have any males in our group just at the moment because they can be quite territorial. So usually there will be a single male that looks after a mob of females and their young.
Okay.
And in this case, we do have an area where guests can come in and meet our kangaroos face to face, and we definitely wouldn't want any confrontations with our male kangaroos trying to protect his females. But on top of that as well, kangaroos are prolific breeders. They are great at breeding, and we do want to be responsible in terms of our breeding here. So we don't want to overpopulate an area that we can't necessarily house all our kangaroos. In terms of their breeding, they are marsupial animals, so just like our koalas. So famously, these guys do have pouches to look after their little joeys. They're roughly only pregnant for around 20 days, 20 to 30 days.
Wow.
That is days, not months. The little babies, they actually come out looking like a little jelly bean, basically. So they're very underdeveloped, and that is very typical for all marsupial animals. So very short pregnancies, underdeveloped young. They head up into the pouch all on their own, and they continue growing inside that pouch. So realistically, they would keep growing for another 9 or 10 months, saying hello,
Hello.
looking for more sweet potato.
Inquisitive.
They do continue growing for another 9 to 10 months inside the pouch, and that is when they do start to explore the outside world. So they start coming out of the pouch, and they're obviously getting a little bit too big at that point as well. So mum is also pushing them to explore the outside world and become a bit more independent. But then they will become what is known as on-foot joeys. So they'll spend a lot more time outside, but they will still come to mum for milk and sustenance, things like that. But during that time, mum can also get pregnant again quite quickly.
Wow.
So she can have 2 different aged babies at the same time, and another little baby also just ready to go at any time, pretty much.
Do they stay with at what age do they leave their mother and go off to?
So roughly between a year and a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
So not too much long after they're born or once they come out of the pouch. The males will tend to go off and try and form their own mobs, so they'll find their own group of females. That's where the territorial thing comes, the aspect comes from it, because they will try and fight other males who already have their own group of females. They'll try and take over, basically. That's where that famous kangaroo boxing comes from as well. So they can actually support their full body weight on their tail. So they've got very, very strong, sturdy tails. Can't point it out to you right now.
But I'm wandering.
There's more important things to see and eat. But they can put their full body weight back on that tail, and they will actually use their really strong, powerful legs that we know for hopping, very famously hopping kangaroos, but they will use those legs to push out. They'll scratch with their big sharp claws. Luckily, our females are quite docile. We don't see a lot of that here, but out in the wild with males, that's definitely the case day to day, unfortunately for them.
Where would we find big reds? What part of Australia?
Big reds?
Yeah.
So generally speaking, they're probably more of an outback animal, so central Australia, even heading more over towards the western side of Australia. But they are the largest species of kangaroo. So those big red males, they can actually be, when they stand up on those big hind legs nice and straight and tall, they can actually be almost close to 2 meters in height, which is kind of terrifying. I'm not even 1.5 meters, and it's like so
And
tall.
I guess that's what people would probably recognise,
Yes,
not being
absolutely.
Australian, as the Australian kangaroo.
For sure.
Because it features in kind of movies and
they're a very handsome kangaroo, that's for sure. But I don't think anything can compare to our beautiful girls here. Kangaroo Islands are a very beautiful species of kangaroo, but we do have a number of different species here in Australia. You can pretty much find them in all parts of Australia, except for Tasmania, actually. They didn't quite make it all the way over there, but so here we have the eastern greys. You can travel just outside of Sydney. We've got quite a lot of bushland national parks, and you'll find kangaroos all over the place here in Sydney as well.
And then the wallaby as a kind of a relative to the kangaroo?
Absolutely, yeah. So they're actually a part of the same family, which is known as the macropod family. You may have just seen Dot hopping across there on those big back feet. That is actually where the name macropod comes from. So it essentially translates to Bigfoot. So all of the family members within that family will have those big hind feet. They do tend to also hop just like kangaroos. So it does include wallabies, includes our quokkas, bettongs, all kinds of beautiful marsupial animals.
And these ones are very pretty.
They are very pretty. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, very pretty faces. Do you have a favourite?
Oh, I mean, I do, but I don't think I can say it out loud while everyone's listening.
Because I might get offended.
No, so this beautiful lady here on my left, her name's Kirby. She's probably the sweetest out of all of them. She doesn't push us for food. She doesn't pressure us in any way, whereas some of our other little scaly rascals, they can definitely be quite pressuring at times when it comes to their favorite treat. So just like your kids can be, we give them things like sweet potato and corn, which they absolutely love. It's like their version of chocolate. So when we do have those special foods, they can get quite pushy. But Kirby, as I mentioned, she's lovely and she never does that. So.
And I noticed one here eating leaves. So what would their main diet be?
So out in the wild, majority of their diet would be a lot of different types of grasses. So let's say like 90% grasses, but they are herbivores, so they will consume things like bark, leaves. They'll dig out tubers from the ground as well, eat roots, flowers if there are flowers around. So they do have quite a wide variety in terms of their diet.
And I guess sweet potato being a
yeah.
tuber
It's a special, special treat. We can't exactly go out to Kangaroo Island and dig up tubers for them and bring them back home. So sweet potato is kind of next
similar.
best thing.
Yeah.
They do love it as well.
So you were mentioning, Jess, that there's a really cool pregnancy fact with the kangaroos.
So not all kangaroo species can do this, but quite a number can. Realistically, our climate here in Australia can be quite unpredictable. Again, the bushfire season a few years ago, a lot of devastation in terms of our wildlife and their habitats. But what a female kangaroo could do in those situations, whether it's floods, fire, drought, whatever happens to be happening, she can actually pause her pregnancy at any time. So it doesn't matter if she's 10 days into the pregnancy, 20 days into the pregnancy, she can actually hit pause. It's called embryonic diapause, basically. And that way she can actually kind of pick and choose the best opportunities to raise her young. So if the environment doesn't suit, she can kind of say, hey, I don't think this is the best time. Come back to it a little bit later. They have been known to actually pause their pregnancies for up to a year.
So why not?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
So a couple of our females here were actually hand raised when they were younger, and the reason for that, unfortunately, it's not a great one. Their mums were actually hit by cars, which vehicle accidents with our mammals does happen quite often, unfortunately. But again, being marsupial animals, their little babies were inside the pouch. So this here is Dot. She's actually one of our hand-raised girls. Somebody did pull over and they happened to check inside that pouch and they found her still alive. So she was taken to a vet and then a wildlife carer, and then she came to live with us when she was about 9 months old. So realistically about the time she would be coming out of her mum's pouch in the wild naturally. So she was still on milk feeds during that time. We were having to hand feed her several times throughout the day and even during the nights as well. Yeah, but she weaned off of that quite quickly, got onto her solids, and now she's one of probably the biggest stars of the show here at Wildlife, just because she is a very, very friendly kangaroo.
I was going to say, so she's quite familiar with humans,
very familiar,
and has confidence to,
absolutely. And it does unfortunately mean that she probably won't be able to be released into the wild at any point, but she is a really great ambassador for her species as well as all Australian species, I think, just because kangaroos are so iconic and we want to make sure that we're doing our bit for all of them.
Well, they feature on our coat of arms.
Yeah, they do.
So very important animal.
They are. Unfortunately, we do eat them though. So.
And for my generation, we grew up with Skippy. So after school, we used to watch Skippy. Not sure if anyone knows that show, but
I know Skippy.
Based around a kangaroo and a national park. So it was a pretty cool television series.
Hi.
Well, thank you, Jess. Today's been very informative, and it's just amazing to stand here with these incredible kangaroos around me. Very close, up close, behind the scenes here at the zoo, which is very, very cool. So thank you for your time today. You've been a wealth of information and a pleasure to chat to. So thank you very much.
Thank you.